Park had been living on the Galactic Council station for exactly 3 weeks. She was a lieutenant in the United Earth Diplomatic Corps, and this was her first real assignment in space. The station was huge, bigger than any city she had ever seen on Earth. It floated in the dark emptiness between star systems, a neutral ground where all the spacefaring species of the galaxy came to talk, trade, and sometimes argue. Was 28 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had studied alien languages for 6 years and passed every test the Corps could throw at her. But nothing in her training had prepared her for how boring the actual job would be. The council meetings were the worst part. Representatives from 12 different species would sit in a massive circular chamber and talk for hours about things like trade routes and mining rights. His job was to take notes and translate any words the computer system missed. Most days, she felt like a very expensive piece of furniture. On this particular morning, had woken up late. Her alarm had failed because of some problem with the station's power grid. She had rushed to get dressed, grabbed her, and run to the meeting chamber without eating anything. By the time she sat down in her small chair at the back of the room, her stomach was already making angry noises. The meeting started, and it was exactly as boring as she had expected. Ambassador of the collective was talking about shipping fees, was tall, almost 3 meters, with skin that was see-through like glass. Could see his organs moving inside his body, which she still found disturbing even after 3 weeks. His 4 eyes were clustered on the front of his head, and his body glowed with soft blue and green lights that changed color based on his mood. Stomach growled again, louder this time. She looked around, embarrassed, but nobody seemed to notice. The other delegates were focused on who was now showing a holographic chart of profit margins. She thought about the container in her bag. Her colleague worked in the station's Earth section. He was a kind man, older than, who worried that she was not eating enough. That morning before she had rushed out, he had pressed a small box into her hands. He had said, his grandmother's recipe, the best thing for a cold morning. Had not had time to eat it, but now with the meeting dragging on and her stomach feeling like an empty hole, she thought maybe she could take a few quick bites. The chamber was dark. She was sitting in the back. Nobody would see. She reached into her bag and pulled out the container. It was still warm, kept hot by the insulated box, opened the lid as quietly as she could. The smell hit her immediately. Spicy, sweet, rich with the scent of pepper paste. Her mouth watered. She picked up her chopsticks and lifted a single rice cake to her lips. The room went silent. Froze. She looked up and found every single delegate in the chamber staring at her. Had stopped mid-sentence. His blue and green lights were now flashing rapid red and orange, a pattern had never seen before. "What?" said slowly, his voice coming through the translator with a strange echo. "Is that substance?" Lowered her chopsticks. "It is food," she said. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. "Rice cakes in spicy sauce. I am sorry if the smell is bothering anyone. I can put it away." "You consume that willingly?" The question came from Delegate, a small creature covered in blue and silver feathers. Came from the system, and she was usually friendly to humans. But now her feathers were standing up straight, a sign of alarm. Without preparation, without ceremony. "It is just a snack," said. She did not understand what was happening. Humans eat things like this all the time. Took a step backward. His glow was now entirely red. "Security," he said. "We need security in the chamber immediately." Alarms started blaring. The sound was so loud that dropped her chopsticks. Red lights flashed from the ceiling. All around the chamber, delegates were standing up, backing away, their translators filling the air with overlapping voices of panic and confusion. "What is happening?" shouted, but nobody answered her. 2 station guards appeared at her side. They were a species that looked like tall gray insects with 4 arms. They did not touch her, but they stood close, blocking any escape. "Lieutenant Park of Earth," one of them said, "you are being detained for questioning." Questioning for what? The guard's mandibles clicked. For the attempted assassination of the Galactic Council. Stared at him. Then she looked down at her container of the rice cakes sitting innocently in their red sauce, steam still rising from the surface. "This is a mistake," she said. "This is just food." But nobody was listening. The delegates were being escorted out through emergency exits, was surrounded by his own guards, his red glow pulsing like a warning beacon. Delegate was making a high-pitched sound that might have been screaming. And Park, holder of 2 advanced degrees and the youngest officer ever assigned to the Galactic Station, was led away in what could only be called disgrace. All because she had been hungry. All because of a simple snack. As she was marched down the corridor toward the detention area, had only one thought in her mind. She was going to have a very serious conversation with about his grandmother's recipe. If she ever got the chance. The detention cell was small and white and very clean. There was a bed that folded out from the wall, a toilet behind a privacy screen, and nothing else. The door was not really a door at all, but a shimmering wall of blue energy that hummed softly whenever got too close. She had been sitting on the bed for 4 hours. Nobody had come to explain anything. Nobody had brought her water or food, though at this point was not sure she ever wanted to eat again. When footsteps finally echoed in the corridor outside, jumped to her feet. A man appeared on the other side of the energy barrier. He was Korean, maybe 40 years old, with a military haircut and a tired expression. His uniform marked him as security, and the badge on his chest said Lee, Captain. "Lieutenant Park," he said. He did not sound angry, which took as a good sign. "How are you feeling?" "Confused," said. "Also scared, also very hungry, but I'm afraid to mention that part." Almost smiled. "Almost. Let me make sure I understand the situation correctly. You have been accused of attempting to assassinate the Galactic Council." "Yes." "With rice cakes." "Yes." Closed his eyes and pressed his fingers against the bridge of his nose. He stood like that for a long moment, as if he was counting to 10 inside his head. Then he opened his eyes again. "All right," he said. "I have arranged for a xenobiology expert to explain things to us. Doctor, she is on her way." The doctor arrived 5 minutes later. She was a small woman with glasses and hair that was escaping from a messy ponytail. She carried a that she kept tapping as she talked, pulling up charts and images that floated in the air between them. "The problem," said, "is capsaicin." "Capsaicin," repeated. "The chemical that makes peppers spicy. Humans have been eating it for thousands of years. We add it to our food because we like the burning feeling it creates in our mouths. Some people even become addicted to it." Tapped her, and a molecular diagram appeared. But here is the thing. To almost every other species in the galaxy, capsaicin is not a spice. It is a poison. Felt her stomach drop. A poison. A neurotoxin, to be specific. It attacks the nervous system. Even a small amount can cause paralysis in most species. A larger amount can kill. Pulled up another image, a chart showing different species and their reactions to capsaicin. The chart was almost entirely red, meaning deadly. Only one small section was green, meaning safe. That section was labeled humans. "So when you opened that container of," said slowly, "and the delegates smelled They smelled what they believed was a weapon of mass destruction." Finished. "They thought Lieutenant Park was trying to gas the entire chamber." Sat down heavily on her bed. Her legs did not seem to want to hold her up anymore. "I did not know," she whispered. "Nobody told me." "That is actually strange," said. She frowned at her. "Humans have been part of the galactic community for over 50 years. There should be protocols, guidelines. Someone should have warned you about what foods you can and cannot bring to public areas." "Someone should have," agreed. His voice had a hard edge to it, which makes me wonder why no one did. A new alarm sounded, different from the one before. This one was a single long tone that repeated 3 times, checked his communicator, and his frown deepened. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency tribunal," he said. "They want to try Lieutenant Park for attempted terrorism." "Terrorism?" stood up again, pressing close to the energy barrier. "But I did not do anything wrong. I was just eating breakfast." "I know," said, "but try explaining that to a room full of beings who think you just tried to kill them." He turned to, "I need you to prepare a full report on human dietary habits, everything. What we eat, why we eat it, how we evolve to handle things that kill other species. Make it simple, make it clear." "I can do that," said, "but even if they understand the science, that might not be enough. Fear is not logical." "Then we need to give them something more than science." Looked at through the barrier. His eyes were serious but not unkind. "We need to give them a reason to believe that humans are not a threat." "And how do we do that?" asked. "I do not know yet," turned to leave. "But I am going to find out. In the meantime, stay calm. Do not talk to anyone except me or Doctor, and for the love of everything holy, do not eat anything." He walked away, gave a small, sympathetic smile, then followed him. Was alone again. She sat back down on her bed and stared at the humming blue barrier. Somewhere on this station, her container was being analyzed as evidence of a crime against the galaxy. Back on Earth, her mother was probably watching the news, seeing her daughter's face next to words like terrorist and assassination attempt. And the kind old man who had made her the snack was probably wondering if his grandmother's recipe had just started an interstellar war. Put her head in her hands. She had come to space to help build peace between species. Instead, she might have just destroyed it. All because she had skipped breakfast. On Earth, it was the middle of the night when the news broke. In Seoul, General Han was pulled from her bed by an urgent call. Within an hour, she was sitting in a crisis room deep beneath the Ministry of Space Affairs, surrounded by screens showing news feeds from across the galaxy. The headlines were not good. Human officer attacks Galactic Council. Biological weapon deployed in neutral space. Earth delegation accused of terrorism. Was 62 years old. She had spent her entire career building connections with alien species, learning their languages, understanding their fears. Now she watched as decades of careful work crumbled because of a container of rice cakes. "Get me everyone," she said. "Scientists, diplomats, food experts. I want answers before the sun comes up." One of the first to arrive was Shin, a nutritionist who specialized in human evolution. She was young, barely 30, but she had written the most important papers on why humans could eat things that killed other creatures. She brought a stack of research and a pot of coffee. "The problem is simple," said, spreading her papers across the table. "Humans are weird." Raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "Our ancestors lived in a dangerous world. Bad meat, poisonous plants, insects carrying disease. We needed ways to protect our food, to make it last longer, to kill the things living inside it that could make us sick." Pointed to a chart showing different chemicals. "So we evolved to tolerate things that would kill other animals. Capsaicin, caffeine, alcohol, theobromine, which is in chocolate. All of these are poisons. We just happen to enjoy them. Can you make the council understand this?" "I can try, but General, there is another problem." Pulled up a communication from the station. "According to Captain Lee, somebody has been hiding information about human food. Reports about previous incidents have been classified. Warnings that should have been given to human officers were never delivered." Leaned forward. "Are you saying this was deliberate?" "I am saying it is suspicious. Someone wanted this incident to happen." Thousands of light years away, Captain Lee was reaching the same conclusion. He had spent hours digging through the station's archive system, searching for any mention of human food or dietary differences. What he found made him angry. There had been incidents before. A human scientist sharing coffee with a colleague from the system, not knowing that caffeine would send the small feathered being into cardiac arrest. A human cook at the station's cafeteria accidentally contaminating the food supply with chocolate. Each time the situation had been handled quietly. Reports were filed, then sealed. No public announcements were made. No warnings were issued. Someone with high-level access had made sure that humans never learned how dangerous their food was to others. And someone had made sure that other species never learned that these incidents were accidents, not attacks. The trail of sealed documents led to one name, over and over again: Ambassador of the Collective. Found this very interesting. Had been the first to raise the alarm when opened her. He had been the one to call for her arrest. And now it seemed he had been working for years to make sure that something exactly like this would happen. But why? Needed to talk to. He needed to share what he had found and figure out what to do next. But when he arrived at the detention area, he found that she was not alone. Stood outside her cell. It was not but a younger one, smaller, with skin that glowed a nervous yellow. When approached, the turned to face him. Captain Lee, the said. The translator gave his voice a soft, almost musical quality. My name is, I am an assistant to Ambassador. What are you doing here? I came to see the human. His glow shifted to a pale blue. I needed to understand. Understand what? How she could do what she did. How she could hold that poison in her hands, put it in her mouth, and not die. His 4 eyes blinked in a pattern that suggested confusion. I have studied humans for many years, but I never truly believed the reports about your food. I thought they must be exaggerated. Stepped closer. They are not exaggerated. Humans really can eat things that would kill your species, but we do not do it to hurt anyone. We do it because we like the taste. That is what I am starting to understand. Glanced back at Cell. The lieutenant has been very patient with my questions. She explained about peppers, about how humans grow them and cook with them and compete to see who can eat the hottest ones. She talked to you. She was kind. The glow warmed to a soft orange. She even apologized. She said she was sorry for scaring everyone. She said she never meant to cause harm. Looked through the barrier at. She was sitting on her bed, watching them, her face tired but alert. Said carefully, your ambassador has been hiding information about humans. He sealed reports. He made sure that incidents like this one would be misunderstood. The young's glow flickered. I know. You know. I only discovered it recently. I came here because I wanted to warn the lieutenant, but I am afraid. His voice dropped to a whisper. Is powerful. If he learns that I have spoken to you, I do not know what he will do. Then tell me quickly, said. Why is he doing this? What does he want? Looked around, making sure they were alone. Then he leaned close to and spoke in a voice barely louder than a breath. They are dying, he said. Our home worlds are sick. A fungus is killing all our crops, and the only thing that can stop it is something we cannot touch. Capsaicin, said, understanding flooding through him. Yes. His glow dimmed with sadness. The cure is a poison to us, and humans are the only species who can handle it safely. Is afraid of what that means. He is afraid of what humans might demand in exchange for help. So he tried to turn everyone against us first. Yes. Stood in silence, processing this information. Then he looked at and smiled grimly. They had a chance, not a good one, but a chance. All they had to do was convince the galaxy that the species they feared most might actually be their salvation. Worked through the night. He gathered evidence files and built a case against. By morning, he had enough to prove that the ambassador had been manipulating information for years. But proof was not enough. He needed to confront directly. He found the ambassador in his private quarters on the station's upper level. The rooms were filled with strange plants that glowed in soft colors, and the air was thick with moisture. Stood by a window, looking out at the stars. His skin pulsed with slow, tired patterns of blue and gray. Captain Lee said without turning around. I wondered when you would come. You know why I am here. Yes, finally turned. His 4 eyes looked old, heavy with something that might have been guilt. You have discovered my deception. I want to know why. Moved to a chair and sat down. The motion was slow, like he was carrying a great weight. Have you ever watched your people die, Captain? Have you ever seen children growing thin because there is no food? Have you ever calculated how many years your civilization has left before it simply ends? Did not answer, he waited. The collective is ancient, continued. We were building cities when humans were still living in caves. We have survived wars, plagues, cosmic disasters, but this fungus, this is something we cannot fight. His glow flickered red with frustration. It started on our agricultural world 7. Within 1 cycle, half our crops were dead. Within 3 cycles, the fungus had spread to every food-producing planet in our collective. We tried everything. Chemicals, radiation, genetic modification. Nothing worked. But capsaicin works, said. Yes, glow dimmed. We discovered this 2 cycles ago. A small amount of capsaicin can kill the fungus completely. The problem is that even touching capsaicin causes our skin to burn. Breathing it can collapse our lungs. We cannot produce it, cannot handle it, cannot apply it to our crops. And humans can. Humans can. Stood again, packing the room. Do you understand what that means? Humans hold the key to our survival. A species that has been part of the galactic community for barely half a century suddenly has power over one of the oldest civilizations in known space. Crossed his arms. So instead of asking for help, you decided to destroy our reputation. I was trying to protect my people. His voice rose. If humans learned that we needed you so desperately, what would you demand in exchange? Territory, resources, political power. I have seen younger species rise before. I have seen what they do when they smell weakness. You have seen wrong. Both and turned. Stood in the doorway with behind her. The young had helped her escape from detention, using his access codes to disable the energy barrier. You should not be here, said. You are a prisoner. I am a hungry woman who accidentally scared some people with her lunch, replied. And I am tired of being treated like a criminal for it. She walked into the room, stopping a few meters from. She was small compared to him, barely reaching his chest. But she did not look afraid. You think humans would demand payment for helping you, she said. You think we would use your suffering to gain power, but you do not know us at all. I know enough about ambitious species. Then you know nothing, reached into her pocket. Flinched, his glow flashing warning red, but all she pulled out was a small packet, crinkled and ordinary. Dried squid, she said, spicy. Captain Lee smuggled it to me when I was in detention because he knew I was hungry. She turned the packet over in her hands. Do you know what humans do when someone is hungry, Ambassador? We feed them. We do not ask what they can give us in return. We do not calculate the political advantage. We just share our food. That is naive, said. The galaxy does not work that way. Maybe it should. Silence filled the room. Stared at the small human woman standing before him, holding her packet of spicy squid like it was the most important thing in the universe. I cannot save my people alone, he finally said. The Council will never agree to work with humans now, not after what happened. Then we change their minds, stepped forward. We show them the truth. We show them that humans are not a threat, and we offer them something they cannot refuse. What could you possibly offer? Smiled. It was a small smile, tired around the edges but genuine. Help, she said. Free, willing, no strings attached help. You need capsaicin handlers. We will send volunteers. You need the fungus killed. We will teach your scientists how to prepare the treatment safely. You need food while your crops recover. We have plenty. Why would you do this? Because it is the right thing to do. Put the squid packet back in her pocket. And because maybe, if we help you, you will stop being so afraid of us. Maybe next time a human opens a container of rice cakes in a meeting, people will laugh instead of scream. Was quiet for a long moment. His glow shifted through colors, blue to green to a soft, warm orange that had never seen before. "You are strange creatures," he said at last. "We get that a lot." Looked at, then back at. Something changed in his expression. The weight he had been carrying seemed to lift just slightly. "Very well," he said. "I will go before the council. I will tell them what I have done and why, and I will ask them to accept humanity's offer of help. And if they refuse, then we will try again." His glow steadied into a calm blue. "But I do not think they will refuse, not once they understand what humans are truly capable of." "And what is that?" asked. Almost smiled. It was a strange expression on his alien face, but somehow recognized it. "Kindness," he said. "In the face of fear, you offered kindness. That is something I did not expect." Put a hand on shoulder. "Come on," he said. "We have a lot of work to do before the tribunal." As they left quarters, looked back one more time. The ancient ambassador was standing by his window again, watching the stars, but his glow was different now. Brighter, more hopeful. Maybe thought things would turn out okay after all. Maybe rice cakes could save the galaxy. Stranger things had happened. The tribunal chamber was the largest room on the station. It could hold representatives from over 100 species, and today, almost every seat was filled. News of the incident had spread across the galaxy, and everyone wanted to see what would happen to the human who had threatened the council with her lunch. Stood in the center of the chamber, wearing a clean uniform that had found for her. She was not in restraints. That had been doing. He had argued that she was not a criminal, and for once, the council had listened. Ambassador had arrived from Earth just hours before. He was an older man, gray-haired and calm, with decades of experience in alien diplomacy. He stood beside, a steady presence in the sea of strange faces and flickering lights. "This tribunal will come to order," announced the chief arbiter, a massive being that looked like a floating cloud of golden mist. "We are here to determine responsibility for the incident that occurred 3 standard days ago, in which a human officer exposed the council chamber to a Class 7 biological agent." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Class 7 meant lethal, felt her stomach tighten. "Before we hear arguments," the arbiter continued, "Ambassador of the collective has requested to speak." Rose from his seat. He moved slowly to the center of the chamber and stood beside. His glow was a steady, calm blue. "Honored members of the council," he began, "I must confess to a great wrong." The chamber fell silent. "For many cycles, I have hidden information about human dietary practices. I sealed reports. I prevented warnings from being issued. I allowed fear and misunderstanding to grow because I believed that humanity's unique abilities made them a threat." Gasps and angry murmurs filled the room. The arbiter's golden form flickered with surprise. "Why would you do such a thing?" demanded Delegate. "Because I was afraid." His glow flickered red, then returned to blue. "The collective faces extinction. A fungal plague is destroying our food supply, and the only known cure requires capsaicin, the very substance that makes human food so deadly to us." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I feared that if humans learned of our weakness, they would exploit it. I feared that we would become dependent on a young, aggressive species, so I tried to isolate them, to turn the galaxy against them before they could turn against us." "And the incident with the human officer," the arbiter asked, "was exactly what I had engineered it to be, a moment of panic, a reason to condemn humanity, turned to face. But I was wrong. Lieutenant Park did nothing but eat her breakfast. The fear was mine, not hers." The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted at each other in a dozen languages. The arbiter's golden form expanded, filling the room with calming light. "Order," the arbiter commanded. There will be order. Slowly the noise died down. Ambassador stepped forward. "If I may address the council," he said. His voice was quiet but carried easily through the room. "You may proceed. I will not pretend that this situation is simple. Humanity has much to learn about living in a galactic community. We did not know that our food could cause such fear. We should have known. We should have been more careful." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of species after species. "But I want to be very clear about something. When Ambassador told us about the plague, our response was not to ask what we could gain. Our response was to ask how we could help." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed documents, plans, lists of names. Within hours of learning about the crisis, Earth began organizing a relief effort. Volunteers to handle capsaicin safely. Scientists to develop treatment methods that workers can apply without risk. Food shipments to sustain your population while your crops recover. His voice softened. "We ask for nothing in return. No payment, no political concessions, no favors owed." "That is unprecedented," the Arbiter said. "Perhaps, but it is who we are." Turned to look at. "Lieutenant Park is not a terrorist. She is a young officer who made an innocent mistake. The true crime here was committed by fear, not by any individual." Delegate stood. Her feathers were smooth now, no longer standing up in alarm. "The system has had positive experiences with humanity. We believe the ambassador speaks truth." Other delegates began to stand as well. A representative, a being made of living crystal from the outer rim. One by one, voices rose in support. The Arbiter's golden form pulsed thoughtfully. "This tribunal must make a ruling, but it seems clear that the evidence does not support charges of terrorism or assassination." "What of Ambassador?" someone called out. "He admitted to manipulation and deception." Bowed his head. "I will accept whatever punishment the council decides." Stepped forward, "If I may speak." The Arbiter hesitated, then nodded. "You may." Ambassador did wrong things for the right reasons. He was trying to protect his people. I understand that. I think the best punishment would be to let him fix his mistakes. Let him work with humanity to save the collective. Let him see that we are not the enemy he feared. The chamber was quiet. Then slowly glow shifted to a warm orange. "You would advocate for me?" he asked. "After everything I did to you." "You were scared," said simply. "Fear makes people do stupid things. Holding grudges makes things worse. I would rather make a friend than an enemy." The Arbiter considered this for a long moment. Then its golden form into something almost like a smile. "The wisdom of the young often surpasses that of the old," it said. "This tribunal finds Lieutenant Park innocent of all charges. Ambassador will be assigned to lead the joint human relief effort, as suggested. The matter is closed." Cheers erupted from the human delegation. Felt tears stinging her eyes as colleagues rushed forward to embrace her. Was there, and Doctor, and even, who had traveled all the way from the station's Earth section to watch the tribunal. "I am so sorry," said, his eyes wet. "My grandmother's recipe almost caused a war." Laughed, wiping her face. "Your grandmother's recipe might have just saved an entire species. I think that makes up for it." Later, as the chamber emptied, approached one final time. "I do not understand you humans," he admitted. "I may never understand you, but I think I would like to try." Smiled and held out her hand. It was a human gesture, she knew, one that he might not recognize, but studied it for a moment, then carefully wrapped his long fingers around hers. "Friends?" she asked. "Friends," he agreed. Outside the tribunal chamber, the stars continued to turn. Somewhere in the galaxy, farmers waited for help to arrive. Somewhere on Earth, factories were already producing capsaicin treatments, carefully packaged so that alien hands could apply them safely. And in his pocket, a small packet of dried squid sat waiting, just in case she got hungry again. She had learned her lesson, of course. She would never open a snack in a council meeting again. But that did not mean she was going to stop eating spicy food. Some things, she decided, were worth the risk. Some things were worth fighting for. Even rice cakes.